Former President Joe Biden taking Hollywood, signing with a major talent agency just weeks after leaving the White House. And President Trump had some thoughts.
What do you think about Joe Biden signing on with a talent agency?
You gotta be kidding. He signed on with a talent agency?
He does. He's got some entertainment agents now.
I think he's got bigger problems than that. I really do. I think he's got much bigger problems than that, but I wish him well.
Fox News contributor Joe Concha joins us now. Joe, good morning to you. That news caught Donald Trump by surprise. What do you think about it?
Well, I think you have to be kidding me, Carly, is something that I'm sure millions of Americans who probably uttered that when they heard that a talent agency signed Joe Biden. I mean, who probably spoke and performed less than any president of our lifetimes. And that's the question, right? What exactly is Joe Biden going to do for this talent agency? Who are they going to sign him with exactly? Because what is his talent at 82? So the thought process here is that probably, you remember the Yule log on Christmas Eve? They used to play it here on Channel 11 here in New York. I think maybe they still do, but I think it is played across the country on Christmas Eve for people who have fireplaces. I think they're going to put Joe Biden on a beach and you just watch him sleep for hours on end, except they won't have to loop it. Literally, they can just film him. And I guess that's what the offering is going to be, because honestly, I have no idea what his talent is at this stage of his life at this point.
He also left office with record low approval ratings. You wonder, why would Hollywood think that this is a vendible commodity? Two potential hypotheses. Do you necessarily think this was part of an arrangement for Biden to drop out of the presidential race, or is this just the liberal ecosystem taking care of itself like it often does?
Oh, wow. I don't know if Biden would necessarily say, oh, wait, I have the legacy of being a one-term president and somebody who quit, the first one that didn't run for his party's nomination for re-election since Lyndon B. Johnson. Sure, I'll take a contract with CAA. You think Biden wants to go anywhere at this point? I mean, he has been off the grid completely since Donald Trump took office, and I think he probably likes it that way at this point. I doubt it was, hey, you want to act in that next Netflix series? No, I don't see why that would be terribly enticing. There, Todd.
So he was previously represented by the same talent agency from 2017 to 2020, and during that time, the book came out. So I'm sure this has to do with books and speeches. So and I don't know about laying on the beach.
You don't think he's going to be?
Quite the suggestion.
You don't think he's going to be in Jumanji 3?
Probably not. One never knows.
Never know.
Okay, so Bill Gates, he was on The View recently, and the topic of the USAID cuts came up. And he is not in favor of this. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I'm a little worried, particularly with this USAID stuff. My foundation partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out. And, you know, there's incredible people. Hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you know, you could have literally millions of deaths.
So he's predicting that there could be millions of deaths. I think what the Trump administration wants to do, though, is to take away funding from things like $47,000 for a trans opera in Colombia and $32,000 for a trans comic book series in Peru, things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, this kind of fear-mongering, that's what Democrats have turned to at this point when it comes to everything that Donald Trump is doing. And Trump is, all he's doing is you know, promises made, promises kept, and he's done so far in 17 days at a pace that we've never seen before. He said, the president did, that he would take a sledgehammer to government waste. It's why Elon Musk is running Doge. And to your point, Carly, there's also $15 million out of USAID to, quote, advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplaces and business communities, because that's in the U.S. interest, right? Or $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. What do they need our money for, right? I could go on and on. $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala. All right, so there is serious waste there. It is run completely incompetently. And I think many Americans, when they hear the types of things that USAID is spending money on, will gladly say, yeah, it's got to go. Let's replace with something much more efficient that puts America first.
So just to be clear, you do not believe millions of people will die because we will no longer fund this DEI comic book in Peru and the transgender opera.
I think that's what he's saying.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I asked Siri. I said, Siri, what is hyperbole? And then she just said Bill Gates. So what can you say?
There you go. I just want to think of the more movies that Joe Biden will be. And I know you're thinking book, and you're probably right, but it's more fun to think of movies. Like, is he going to be an action hero? Is he going to be a comedy?
He's got the Aviators.
Yes.
That works for some actors.
Top Gun 3, go, quick.
Weekend at Biden's.
Love it.
Oh, wow.
A sequel to Weekend at Bernie's.
Fox and Friends now.